Who was Cleopatra? History remembers her as a seductress, but that might be the greatest lie ever told. When most people hear the name Cleopatra, they picture beauty, luxury, and scandal. But what if I told you she was one of the most intelligent, politically strategic, and dangerous rulers of the ancient world? Not dangerous because of romance, dangerous because Rome feared she might win. This is the story of Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt, and the woman who almost reshaped the Roman Empire. By the time Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE, Egypt was no longer the unstoppable superpower it once was. The pyramids were already ancient. The glory days of the pharaohs were centuries behind. Cleopatra belonged to the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek Macedonian family descended from one of Alexander the Great's generals. Yes, Cleopatra wasn't ethnically Egyptian. But here's what made her different. She was the first in her family to learn the Egyptian language. She presented herself as the living goddess Isis. She connected with her people, and she understood image and power. When her father died, she inherited the throne at just 18 years old, alongside her younger brother, whom she was forced to marry. And almost immediately, she was pushed out of power. Her own brother's advisors exiled her. Most rulers would have disappeared into history. Cleopatra chose war. To understand Cleopatra, you have to understand her world. It was dominated by Roman titans like Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, and Augustus. This was not an era where women ruled empires. But Cleopatra wasn't just surviving, she was calculating. She spoke multiple languages. She was highly educated in philosophy, science, and politics. She understood diplomacy, economics, and military alliances. Her goal wasn't romance, it was survival. Egypt sat between Rome and massive wealth, grain, gold, and trade routes. Rome needed Egypt. Cleopatra knew this, and she made a bold move. In 48 BCE, Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt, chasing his rival Pompey. Cleopatra saw an opportunity. Legend says she had herself smuggled into Caesar's palace, wrapped in a carpet. Dramatic? Absolutely. Romantic? Maybe. Strategic? Definitely. She needed Caesar's military backing to reclaim her throne, and it worked. With Roman support, Cleopatra defeated her brother's forces and became sole ruler of Egypt. She later gave birth to a son, Caesarion, claiming he was Caesar's heir. Think about that. If true, Cleopatra wasn't just Queen of Egypt, she was positioning her bloodline to influence Rome itself. But then, Caesar was assassinated in 44 BCE, and everything changed. After Caesar's death, Rome descended into chaos. Enter Mark Antony, powerful, charismatic, and ambitious. When Cleopatra met Antony, it wasn't just attraction, it was a political masterstroke. She sailed to meet him on a golden barge, dressed as a goddess. Was it theatrical? Yes. Was it intentional? Absolutely. She needed protection. He needed Egypt's wealth. They formed an alliance and a relationship. Together, they envisioned an Eastern empire that could rival Rome. But in Rome, another man was watching. Octavian, later known as Augustus, Caesar's adopted heir. He saw Cleopatra not as a queen, but as a threat. Here's where things get fascinating. Octavian launched one of the most effective propaganda campaigns in history. He didn't frame the conflict as a Roman civil war. He framed it as Rome versus Cleopatra. He painted her as a manipulative seductress, a foreign temptress corrupting Antony, and a dangerous Eastern queen trying to control Rome. Sound familiar? This is where the myth of Cleopatra as a seductive villain was born. History wasn't neutral, it was political, and Octavian controlled the narrative. In 31 BCE, Antony and Cleopatra faced Octavian's forces at the Battle of Actium. It was decisive, and they lost. Antony's forces collapsed. Their dream of a rival empire crumbled. As Octavian closed in on Alexandria, tragedy unfolded. Antony, believing Cleopatra was dead, took his own life. Cleopatra, refusing to be paraded as a Roman trophy, made her final decision. Legend says she allowed herself to be bitten by an asp, a venomous snake. Whether it was a snake or poison, one thing is clear: she chose death over humiliation. With her death in 30 BCE, Egypt became a Roman province. The age of the pharaohs ended, and Rome rose as an empire. So who was Cleopatra really? Was she extraordinarily beautiful? Ancient coins suggest she looked human. Strong nose, sharp features, not a fantasy figure. What made her powerful wasn't beauty. It was intellect, charisma, and political instinct. Hollywood, especially films like Cleopatra, turned her into spectacle. But Roman historians, loyal to Octavian, shaped her legacy as a villain. In reality, she was the last ruler fighting to preserve her nation's independence against the most powerful empire in the world. She didn't conquer Rome, but Rome never forgot her. Cleopatra was not just a queen, she was a strategist, a diplomat, a symbol, a survivor. And perhaps the greatest trick history ever pulled was convincing the world she was just a love story. Now you know. Like, comment, and subscribe.